In Pokemon, I feel that everyone has favorites and dislikes from each generation of Pokemon. Today, I'm going to go into my favorite Pokemon from each generation of Pokemon and maybe some possible builds on each of them. But before we get started, make sure to like, subscribe, and ding the bell so then that way you can be notified for when my videos actually drop and you can watch them at your leisure. Thank you very much. In Generation 1 of Pokemon, there were several contenders for my favorite, but after much deliberation, we have come to the conclusion that it is Gengar that is my favorite Pokemon from Generation 1. Gengar is a fantastic Pokemon with fantastic stats. I mean, look at that for a Generation 1 Pokemon. 110 speed is nothing to sneeze at, and 130 special base attack is actually, like, really strong and can actually provide some wall-breaking power. In Generation 1, that Ghost Poison typing was not very good, but it has become more of a boon for it now that fairy types exist. Historically, I have used Gengar as a tricky special sweeper. Mainly in the newer generations, I have used a Focus Sash with it, with some Destiny Bond shenanigans and 3 coverage moves, 2 stabs and a T-Bolt, usually. And this actually works very well for me on the ladder in Generations 6, 7, 8, and 9. It is a versatile Pokemon that can do a lot of things. You can run a Choice Scarf or Choice Specs on this to be able to really do some wall breaking or outrun most of the metagame. And overall, just look at how cool that design is. I just really enjoy the look of Gengar. It's always been one of my favorite Pokemon. Haunter is right up there alongside Gengar, honestly. Really greatly designed Pokemon. I really like that Gengar kind of looks like the shadow of Clefable, who is another great Pokemon from this generation. But yeah, my Gen 1 favorite pick is Gengar. Next, we have here is in Gen 2, there's a lot of different picks that I could have had here, Azumarill being one of them. But ultimately, I have decided upon Umbreon. Umbreon being my absolute favorite evolution in all of the evolutions. And I've used it primarily as a defensive pivot or tank or support in my time in competitive Pokemon. Most times it's a set that looks a lot like this, with leftovers, synchronize to be able to pass status onto Pokemon that are going to be statusing us. And usually like a Wish Protect package in newer generations, Foul Play has been a great move to be able to hit specific Pokemon and to be able to do something outside of being taunted. And then this 4th move, you can run Thunder Wave, you could run something like Yawn to be able to pass Sleep or force switch-ins. It's a really great, yet one-note kind of set here with Umbreon. It really is just like a defensive utility Pokemon, but I absolutely love it. It has, throughout the years, been able to enable certain strategies by spreading Sleep or T-Wave, slowing down the metagame around me, so then I can get some setup sweepers online to be able to just take the game. Umbreon, design-wise, is also really awesome. It's like a black fox cat with, like, awesome little glowy rings, and he's just like a dude that I would like to, like, you know, have as like a pet in my house. But anyway, Umbreon is my number 1 favorite from Gen 2. Gen 3, we're going to start a little bit of a 3-generation trend here, a little bit. And my favorite Gen 3 Pokemon is Flygon. I absolutely love its, like, dragonfly-inspired design. It was a very cool Pokemon to be able to play back in Generation 3. This right here actually is a Generation 3 set that I really liked to run with Choice Band, Gust, Earthquake, Rock Slide, and Quick Attack. And you're probably wondering, why did you run Gust in Gen 3? Well, that's because sometimes you would run into things like Breloom. Breloom is 4 times weak to flying type moves, so that Gust is going to one-shot the Breloom, especially with a Choice Band. Earthquake and Rock Slide is fantastic coverage, and Quick Attack can really make it so then you can be able to revenge kill with Flygon. With the design and the competitive viability in Generation 3, I instantly fell in love with Flygon, and it's always been a mainstay. Whenever I go back and play any of the Generation 3 games, I always have a Flygon on my team, just because it is that iconic of a design for me, and easily one of my favorite Dragon-type Pokemon in the entire series. So Flygon is my favorite Generation 3 Pokemon, and little bit of a trolley set, but hey, it works. Generation 4, here we go, another Dragon Ground-type Pokemon. This time, not with Levitate, and that is Garchomp. Garchomp, the Land Shark Pokemon, I don't know, just its design of being that land shark is really cool. He looks like just a very menacing design, very strong and powerful, and looks like an apex predator on the land. Very cool looking Pokemon here. And on top of that, it's been competitively viable for a long time. I know as of late, a lot of people have been running Tank Chomp sets, which I have run in the past as like a Stealth Rock setter, but something that I have used competitively in the past to great success is like a mixed set, Choice Scarf Chomp, with Earthquake, Iron Head, Fire Blast, and Stone Edge for extremely great coverage. And I mean, its stats are nothing to sneeze at either. 102 speed stat is its own tier within itself and outruns all those 100 base Pokemon, which is great, with some respectable bulk on top of it and an excellent attack stat. Garchomp has served me well throughout the years as a tank, as a lead, as a sweeper, as a mixed choice scarfer. It's very versatile, it's very awesome. People thought that Garchomp was basically OU, no longer OU viable in Gen 9, but I think the allegations are false. This is my favorite Gen 4 Pokemon. Gen 5 was almost like a soft reset on Pokemon, which came out with a whole slew of new Pokemon, including some new Dragon types. Dragon type Pokemon felt the best they've ever felt, in my opinion. And my favorite of them all in Gen 5 is Haxorus. That design of being just like a bipedal lizard with a sweet axe on his face to be able to just trample through anybody just absolutely solidified this Pokemon for me. I immediately wanted to make some kind of team with this because I also saw these stats and really saw the competitive viability. Its speed tier is a little bit unfortunate, being a little bit slower than those base 100 speed tier Pokemon, being outrun by things like Starmie and the like, but I do really like this Pokemon, and back in Gen 5 I did build all around it just to be able to spread like status, like T-Wave, like Paralysis and stuff like that. So then that way this could get in and get like a few Dragon Dances off. These days I do still use it sometimes, competitively just for fun, with this set that's on screen here, with a Lumberry, Mold Breaker, because it's an awesome ability, Scale Shot, Iron Head, Earthquake, and Swords Dance. It gives it a lot of versatility. It just is a Pokemon that needs to be built around. And I know that Kyurem Black is a Pokemon that, you know, basically does everything that Haxorus does, but better. I really don't like the Pokemon's design. I never thought it really should have been something that should be in Overused. I've always thought it should be in, like, Ubers or the newly formed underused Ubers. I don't think it has a place and I think it's taking Haxorus' spot. Haxorus did nothing wrong. Haxorus not only is my favorite Pokemon from Generation 5, it is my favorite Pokemon of all time. It's a Pokemon that I have used throughout the years to competitive success, and to me, it's one of those Pokemon that I have enjoyed building teams around throughout the years. You could even do like a phasing set with Dragon Tail. It really is more frail than something like Garchomp is, so it isn't as good at doing it, but it's a really great Pokemon design-wise, and a Pokemon that has gotten me through some fantastic metagames. My favorite Pokemon, and my favorite Pokemon from Gen 5, Haxorus. Now, for a new trend, now that the Dragon trend is out of the way, our next favorite Pokemon here is Greninja, a starter Pokemon that is Water Dark, that I actually used in both Gen 6 and Gen 7 competitively, viably, and most notably Gen 6. This is what I used as a set, with a Focus Sash, Protean, Water Shuriken, Ice Beam, Gunk Shot, Dark Pulse combo. It seems very strange to be running a Focus Sash on this, but with Protean back in Gen 6, you could bounce around all 4 of these different types and be able to hit things that would come in on you, like various fairy types you could hit with Gunk Shot. Dark Pulse would be hitting ghost types and psychic types that might think about coming in on you, most likely not. Ice Beam, fantastic coverage, and Water Shuriken to be able to revenge kill on top of it. So with this Focus Sash Greninja set, I was able to, a lot of the time, take out 2 Pokemon, or at least take out 1 Pokemon and get further in my game plan and chip damage with this Greninja on their next Pokemon. This Greninja set is something that I look back upon fondly, and I mean, it's got pretty great stats. That attack stat is serviceable for what we'll be doing here, and Gunk Shot being a base 120 move makes it okay to be able to run like a Hasty Nature tiny bit of attack investment, but speed and special attack investment to really break through things, both physically and specially. And a lot of the time, people would think that you would be on like a specs plan or something, but in reality, you have this Focus Sash to be able to switch around and just surprise your opponents. That level of surprise was something that got me very far in Gen 6, and it got me to the Master Ball tier there. And for that, I'm very grateful. I love its design. It's a ninja frog. Like, come on. It's frog, it's ninja, it's sweet, its stats are amazing. My favorite from Gen 6 is Greninja. So Gen 7. My favorite Pokemon from Gen 7 is actually Decidueye, a Pokemon that really is not that competitively viable. However, I did use it to competitive success in Gen 7. I used a Choice Scarf set, actually, with my Decidueye to basically make it like a Scout, with U-Turn, Knockoff, Leaf Blade, and Shadow Sneak. It was a good Scout that could revenge kill and actually hit halfway decent with its base 107 attack stat. I did toy with the idea of possibly doing a mixed attacking set, since its special attack stat of 100 isn't too bad. It ultimately fell through, and this is a strategy that I used in Gen 7 to pretty good success, as it wasn't anything that anybody was really looking out for, because it's really not that great. Though it is kind of bulky, especially defensively, so you can come in on some special attacks. Decidueye also, like, it being a Ghost Grass Archer Owl dude, really cool. Really cool design. That Grass Ghost typing is really cool as well. And I just really loved using this Pokemon. I think really doesn't have a great place in Overused. I did play it there to somewhat success. And because of that, I really enjoy this Pokemon, design-wise, and what it was able to do for me. So for that reason, Decidueye is my favorite from Gen 7. Generation 8, to continue the trend of starters here, Cinderace is my absolute favorite from that generation. This set here is the exact set that I used in Generation 8. Dynamaxed, I had Cinderace with Bounce, High Jump Kick, Pyro Ball, and Sucker Punch with a Life Orb. I did mess around with some choice items for my Cinderace, but I ended up parting choice items to other Mons that needed them, and Cinderace was given a Life Orb to be able to do more damage, outside of it being Dynamaxed, or Gigantamaxed in this case. So the Gigantamax we would be able to use the Bounce as our speed increase and flying attack damage, and High Jump Kick as Gigantamax to raise our attack, and we can just sweep super easily with this Cinderace set, and it got me through the Battle Stadium singles of Generation 8 very effectively. This Pokemon, also design-wise, a soccer-playing rabbit, I absolutely love it. And its Soccer Ball is a Fireball? Nah, it's a Pyro Ball. I absolutely love that about this Pokemon. One of the better Fire-type Pokemon that they've ever made as a starter. And, yeah, I just really enjoy it. Really cool design, great stat spread, and it was competitively viable as well. One of my favorites, and, I mean, it is my favorite from Generation 8. Gen 9, rounding out the starters here, we have Meowscarada as my favorite Pokemon from Generation 9. There were some other contenders. There are some cool dragon types. Dondozo is really cool. And I mean, there's the silly String Cheese Man as well. Can't forget about him. But ultimately, I really enjoy this Dark Magician Arcana cat. Absolutely love it. Very similar to like Cinderace and Greninja. It has Protean, just like Greninja, which Cinderace also had Libero, which was basically Protean. But Meowscarada, being a grass dark type, is really cool. Although a bit unfortunate, as U-turn can come in. If there's a faster U-turn on you, you're just gonna get decimated. And for that reason, I decided to play my Meowscarada in the meta as a Choice Scarfer with max speed investment, with Sucker Punch to be able to Revenge Kill, play rough, U-turn ourselves, and Flower Trick. Not many Meowscarada that I ran into on the ladder were running Choice Scarf, so I was able to scout effectively with Meowscarada. Meowscarada is also a great, fantastic lead Pokemon with access to things like Spikes. Spikes, really great to be able to set up hazards. Taunt, fantastic stuff here. You could actually even run Trick if you wanted to alongside a Choice Scarf set to be able to trick your Choice Scarf onto Pokemon that don't want that. Meowscarada is a really, really solid Pokemon, and probably one of my favorite starters of all time. This, Greninja and Meowscarada are probably tied with my two most favorite starters of all time. And I'm not sure which one is my favorite of the two, but I absolutely love Meowscarada. I love its design. I know people don't like that it's bipedal, but I love that it's, honestly, like a bipedal magician cat. But anyway, this was my favorite Pokemon from each generation of Pokemon. What are your favorite Pokemon from each generation? And why is that? It could be as simple as, I like its design, or it could be as complex as something like, hey, I really like the complexity of this Pokemon and the ability to run it in various different ways to surprise my Pokemon. Maybe something similar to my Decidueye, or, you know, how Garchomp is an absolute beast. But anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.